Long Beach, California. The city is known for its attractions like the Queen Mary, the Aquarium of the Pacific, and of course, the many, many beaches. In fact, when you Google search Long Beach, the results that show up on the first page are beautiful photos of sunsets, clear blue waters, and bright blue skies. But nothing is found relating to air pollution, poor air quality, or the environmental epidemic sweeping the city. As a team, we want to put a spotlight on the environmental injustice known as environmental racism in Long Beach, California.
But wait, what even is environmental racism? Well, environmental racism is the disproportionate exposure of some racial groups to environmental toxic substances. This correlates to Long Beach because
Long Beach suffers some of the worst air pollution in the United States. According to the annual State of the Air report put out by the American Lung Association, the Los Angeles Long Beach Metropolitan District has once again ranked as the nation's most ozone-polluted area. The area has been at the top of the list for nearly the entire 19-year history of the report. One of the biggest culprits for air pollution and smog in Long Beach is the oil industries. Long Beach is directly downwind of several of the South Bay oil refineries. Refineries emit many gases, and any chemical upset that results in the atmospheric release of refinery products will usually impact air quality in Long Beach due to the wind. Additionally, accidental oil spills pollute the groundwater and open waterways, leading us to the next biggest culprit, ports. The Port of Long Beach is one of the biggest contributors to air pollution in California. Heavy pollution sources at the ports include the ships themselves, which burn high sulfur, high soot producing bunker fuel, and heavy diesel pollution. Together, the ports form the largest single source of air pollution in Southern California and produce 100 tons of smog a day. Traffic, refineries, and rail yards spew even more toxic chemicals into the surrounding neighborhoods, where 2 million people live. According to state officials, those on the west side of Long Beach are among those with the highest risk, while those on the east side, while still at risk, are much less so.
to gain more knowledge on the issue, we interviewed community activist Gloria Vazin to give her own insights regarding environmental racism.
Okay, so how does being an activist in Los Angeles connect to other areas of Southern California like Long Beach?
Our incident is very isolated in Porter Ranch, and we're thought of as an affluent community that doesn't need help. But in my activism, I've discovered there are many areas of Los Angeles, especially disadvantaged areas, that are greatly affected by the gas production, storage, and refining business. And those children are very affected, just as ours were, with health effects such as asthma, rashes, nosebleeds, and they need our help as well. So all of us working together can make a difference.
People who live in the west side of Long Beach are among those with the highest health risks compared to those that live on the east. This is due largely in part of the fact that major sources of pollution, such as factories and ports, are located in the west. When comparing the pollution burden scores of different zip codes around Long Beach, state officials announced that 90807, North Long Beach, had a score of 7.7 out of 8.8, a drastic difference compared to a city in the east, such as Belmont Shore, which only had a score of 4.9. Who are these people affected by the pollutants in their communities? Residents of neighborhoods riding these sources of pollution are typically people of color. African Americans are more largely populated on the west, near landfills and industrial plants that pollute the water and air around them, depleting their general quality of life. Because of this, people of color living near these hazardous waste sites are 3 times more likely to die from exposure to air pollutants than their white counterparts. Zip code 90813, located in the lower west side near the ports, has an asthma percentage of 96.68, indicating that almost all the residents in that area has asthma, whereas Belmont Shore, located in the east, only has an asthma percentile of 15.38. These statistics clearly show how the different areas of Long Beach are disproportionately affected by their proximity to the pollutants that diminish their quality of life.
Environmental racism disproportionately affects people who live in poverty in Long Beach. The poverty rate in Long Beach is 19.1%, and generally people who are more affluent survive up to 20 years later than people who are not. People who have diseases such as cancer, hypertension, infant mortality, and other diseases. Typically, if you are more affluent, you can get better care and live longer.
North Long Beach residents suffer a higher risk for premature death, lung cancer, and other serious health effects such as asthma attacks, cardiovascular damage, and developmental and reproductive harm from air pollutants than do residents in Belmont Shore. This is due to the fact that social class affects the quality of a person's healthcare system because social class is majorly determined by income, education, and race. For instance, the average annual household income in Belmont Shore is $120,000, whereas the average annual household income in North Long Beach is less than half of that of Belmont Shore at $52,000 each. Hence, the North Long Beach residents are not only disproportionately affected by the harsh pollutants, but also do not have the income to afford good healthcare systems.
In California, according to the California Department of Education, asthma is the leading cause for chronic absenteeism, and the toxic air pollution poses a greater threat to children due to their smaller physical size and their lung capacity. In Long Beach, which is considered a city with the worst air quality, according to California Health Report, 14% of its residents suffer from asthma, compared to that of 12.5% in Los Angeles and 8% in the US. People of color and low-income communities are the hardest hit. Asthma-related emergency department visits, hospitalizations, and mortality are 2 to 4 times higher among African Americans than non-Hispanic whites.
Although environmental racism may seem like an issue that has no clear-cut solutions, there are some ways to diminish its effects. This can be done by contacting your local representatives about capping emissions from power plants, which are one of the leading causes for environmental racism. Another way to diminish the effects of environmental racism is joining a community group that deals with environmental matters or donating to their cause, such as the East Yard Community for Environmental Justice does in the Long Beach community. A primary way to reduce environmental racism is by spreading awareness at protests or sharing your knowledge and experiences of this issue with others. Because working together, we can help prevent this issue as a community.